Well, hello. So since we didn't have Blue Lizard's Guts actually on the stream, I never updated the description. Hold on. And we've got Barbara here as well, but I am actually on screen now. So let me go update that description real quick.
Yes, don't want to mislead anybody.
There we go. Hi, Andrew. So y'all get to see me without anything in the way. Hi, Rude Rookie. So, yeah, we don't really have anything specifically like planned out well for the Star Trek stream because ADHD here and kind of just surprise Barbara with it. Yes, I see you, Danny. I mean, I don't see you. That's what I mean. Sure. And I am assuming that you can at least mostly see the chat there. Correct, Barbara?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Let me bring down your volume there a little bit. Make sure it doesn't overdrive the speakers, or like everyone.
Okay. Yeah, don't want to make anybody deaf.
Yeah, okay. I think we're about balanced there.
Cool.
So, yeah, we had had some things suggested by people in chat regarding what to actually talk about. One of which was the different animated series, and the original animated series, as well as what do you call it, Lower Decks and Prodigy. And yeah. And so my understanding though is that you haven't really watched a lot of the original animated series, but you are mostly caught up, if not completely caught up, on the two new ones.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually watched any of the original animated series. Like I said, I've absorbed a little bit just from the various podcasts that I listen to that are Star Trek related. They reference a lot of things from the animated series, but I've not watched them. But I have watched Lower Decks several times through. And then I'm trying to see how far I got into Prodigy and if I've actually caught up or not.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm definitely. I'm only. Let me double check because I keep it all tracked locally. Let's see here.
yeah, trying to see what the last episode was. Whoops. Oops, I just opened Next Gen by accident.
Let me see here.
Ah, yes, I have not watched the 8th episode of Prodigy yet.
Okay. And that one, let me look at the name of it to make Time Amok. That
Time
one,
Amok, yeah.
yeah, that was actually pretty good, and obviously a reference to the
I
original series
Yes, I was
episode.
gonna say that must have something to do with Amok Time.
I don't think it does. I think it's
No?
just a general kind of same basic. It's time obviously
Right.
involved, and I think there's mainly just a pun
Huh.
because there's yeah, Amok Time. Let me double check, make sure I'm thinking about the right episode.
Yeah, same. I was just gonna look back.
Yeah, okay, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's not even related. There aren't even any Vulcans
Okay, I
in
was
the
like,
episode.
there's no pun far.
No, it's just about some time distortion tacky on random nonsense,
Okay.
as Star Trek often is,
Yes.
and a not even thinly veiled explanation of the importance of working together as a team, because that's everything in Star Trek is thinly veiled. That's
Yes.
the nature of it.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a good episode. I mean, obviously the entire series is a kids show,
Right.
so the nature of it, it's a little bit more. dumbed down, which is saying something comparing to Star Trek.
Even more bonk bonk on the head than it
Yeah,
already is.
definitely. Oh, have you seen the new Star Trek Picard trailer, the new one that came out a couple days ago?
I have not. I've seen a lot of people posting about it, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it yet.
Have you seen who is confirmed to be in the new season?
Yes, I
Oh,
think.
okay, which is
Whoopi Goldberg.
okay. Yeah,
I know Q. John Delancey is going to be in it, and then a lot more of Seven of Nine. So
yeah,
I think that's about what I know.
yeah. Guinan. I was watching some information on the different. What do you call it? Like the little Easter eggs here and there,
Mm.
and they where Picard meets Guinan is on Forward Avenue, and the street number for the place that he's meeting her at is 10. So he's meeting her at 10 Forward Avenue.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like, okay, fantastic. Armac asked here, remember when Patrick Stewart went on The View to beg Whoopi to be on the show? Apparently it worked.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that.
So, yeah, definitely really exciting to have Guardian back on. And considering that there's time travel stuff and like different timeline things going on, makes perfect sense to have an Elorian back on.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, especially after like yesterday's Enterprise, where she's obviously able to see, like she's able to sense changes in time. The only real
Right.
question I would assume that he's meeting up with her after time has changed. So, but we'll definitely have to see how that bears out. Which
Yeah.
it's what March, I think.
March 3rd, I think it was.
Yeah, I can try. Hold on.
Like I said, I was scrolling through a lot of my social media and like everybody was just posting about it.
Yeah,
So it's definitely early March, I want to say.
yeah, and I'm super excited for it. So, um, Armax said, "Hey, remember when when Q was for some reason afraid of Guinan and told Picard he didn't know what she really was? Uh, Picard didn't know what she really was, and like this is definitely a prime example of how like a prime way to like explore that because we've got Q, we've got Guinan,
Right. Yeah, it's
and
a lot of backstory potential there.
a ton, and I'm really hoping that they get into it significantly. Yeah, Danny is screaming at us to tell everyone how we both got into Star Trek. I'll let you go ahead and start.
Oh my goodness. Kind of embarrassing, actually. So, in my early teen years, and this might age me, but I was obsessed with Disney and specifically Aladdin. So, like, I was watching the movie incessantly, and I got really into like learning about who all the voices were, and uh, well, that kind of leads into how I got into theater, but. Um, then I started watching Aladdin, the cartoon series, the TV series, and some of those voice actors were also on Gargoyles, the cartoon series, and a lot of those voices were TNG actors. So after watching Gargoyles enough times, I was like, okay, let me see what these people look like in real life. And I think I don't even remember which episode it was, but I watched a Next Generation episode, and I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're looking like in semi real life without you know being a cartoon. And like I said, I don't remember what episode it was, but it was enough to make me think, okay, let me watch more of this Next Generation. And that's how I got into watching Next Generation regularly. Um, yeah, and then I started watching Voyager next, and then DS9. Then the rest is history.
Yeah. It's interesting that it went that kind of interesting direction. Initially, I actually don't remember when I started watching Star Trek.
Hmm.
Real quick, I wanted to address something Andrew said, where he said they can't bring Q back. Like they, they are like they've released trailers with him
Yeah,
in the show as Q talking to Picard and being like, "Welcome back, old friend."
yeah,
And as terms for like, hey, why are they having like this really? Why is Q this basically god-ish character? Like he's all powerful. Why is he old? No, just to
right.
make fun of Picard for being old. It's like I can
Yeah,
easily explain that away.
yeah. I feel like there's going to be a lot of fun, you know, explanations coming from Q for that.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be like, yeah, because I felt like it. That's why.
Make you feel better,
Or make him feel worse. Like, ha 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 ha.
or that
You're
too.
getting old. I mean, that's a little bit more Q.
Yeah.
In terms of how I got into Star Trek, I actually do not remember any time at which I was not into Star Trek, and the reason
Hmm.
for that is back in, I believe, around 87, 88. May have been 89. I was watching Star Trek the animated series all the time, like on TV, because I don't remember what channel was broadcast on at the time. I didn't really understand TV channels at the time. But anytime it was on and I could watch it, I was watching that. And then because obviously it was on reruns at this time. This was the late 80s, and they just stopped showing it on that channel, so I couldn't watch it anymore. And I remember actually being really upset about it. And my mom called me down. I was like, "Tell you what, like, there's this new Star Trek show you can watch called The Next Generation, and it's like all live action." And I was not happy about this because I went from watching cartoons about Star Trek to this new show with new people. Who are these people? I don't want to watch this. But that very quickly went away, and I like fell in love with Star Trek Next Generation, and later on went back and watched all of the original series. And I'm sure that at some point, like when I was 2, 3 years old, I definitely watched all of the animated series because it was like my favorite TV show. Little toddler, barely able to talk correctly, definitely can't read or write, and it's like Star Trek is like my favorite thing.
Aw,
So,
that sounds adorable.
but yeah, that's I don't remember how I got into Star Trek the animated series, just because I don't have any memories from when I was like a year and a half to 2 years old.
Right, you were too young.
Yeah, so it's been a lifelong love for me.
Nice.
Let me. I just realized I don't have the chat up. I'm gonna see stuff. Um, yeah, he's already like intentionally. Q has definitely intentionally changed his appearance just to either appeal to or mock or just uh, to match the person that he's dealing with. I mean, the fact that he even looks like a human in the first place.
Right.
Like it's like this is a non-corporeal being that exists outside of time and space with all the power in the cosmos, and he looks like a human because he finds it
That's who he's
amusing.
interacting with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's got to be like that's the only reason. I mean, real life it's because the people making the show are lazy and don't want to come up with a way to make him look extra dimensional or anything like that. They're just like, man, put him in a Star Trek uniform. Everyone will figure it out. Whatever.
Right.
Uh, Despite being, and actually another thing about it, but despite being the most dissimilar being to humans on the entire show, bar none, he's the one that looks most like human beings, aside from the blue lips, which has always been odd to me.
Yeah, I wonder. I always wondered why that was a choice that they made.
I don't. I mean, he looks like he's. It looks like he's suffering from severe hypoxia
Yes. Yes.
all of the time, and makes him look slightly like inhuman almost. So maybe that's part of it. Like he's dead. Like
Right.
his humanity is dead. Because I mean, I think it's canon. Pretty sure it's canon that the Q used to look or used to be very very similar to humans.
Yeah, I
Like,
think there was something about them evolving
yeah,
out of out of something resembling humans into whatever they are now.
yeah. So I mean, that kind of tracks in a certain way. Uh, but
Hmm.
okay, just checking on network strength. Everything seems to be working okay, so that's good.
Good.
No problems there. Um, Sorry, there's no Smeagol on this particular stream, just because Smeagol's in the living room with Danny. I'm off in the office, and Barbara is over the network from her room. So just to make sure we, you know, don't monopolize the entire living room and keep Danny from being able to watch TV, etc. So let's see here. Andrew said, I just thought he was a not too subtle allegory for Abraham and God or something. Um, uh, yes, a little bit of Star Trek Five in there too. Definitely similar. The deity from uh, deity from Star Trek Five. Uh, definitely less powerful than Q, um, but potentially just another trapped Q, kind of like Quinn was from that episode of Star Trek Voyager, where he was trapped in that comet for however long. Uh, so that's possible that he was, but I think the deity character from Star Trek Five is much more of a strong allegory, or much more obvious allegory for an Abrahamic God, simply because he's vengeful, demanding things, etc. Um, do you think that Q or the deity from Star Trek Five is more of a intended to be the Abrahamic God, or just different? Are they different allegories for the Abrahamic God in different ways?
I mean, I've only seen Star Trek Five once, um, and I don't remember too much of it, but I got a very different sense from like a Q type of god. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, there's not a lot of that deity character in Star Trek Five. It's pretty much just him showing up and going, "Yes, come here, my children. Thank you for bringing the ship to me. Now let me get on the ship so I can leave this place." And then Kirk immediately just goes, "Oh, you're able to kill all of us with a thought. What do you fucking need with a starship, then,
Right,
asshole?"
that I remember.
Just immediate upon it's like, okay, you could kill me with just a thought. Okay, I'm gonna immediately start questioning you because, yeah, I'm not gonna like listen to you.
Right.
So, and that kind of brings me into the difference between Picard and Kirk, and that Kirk was very much more of a. Everyone seems to think he's like the more what do you call it? Um, like wild west, like he's the one that's like out of control and like doesn't listen to authority, etc., which is odd because if you watch it, he's very fucking concerned with following the rules. And
Hmm.
like the only time he really just like straight up breaks the rules is Star Trek 3, after Spock's dead, and he's like, no, I'm gonna fucking steal a starship and I'm gonna go rescue my dead friend. And everyone's
Right.
like, you're gonna fuck everything up. And he's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, he was willing to face that court martial.
Oh
So
yeah, but like that's the only real time he really just straight up breaks the rules. Every other
yeah.
time, like he tries to find ways around them, but he is very concerned with like following the rules. And Picard just, whenever he felt like it, just like, I'm gonna violate the Prime Directive. Fuck off. You mean the Prime suggestion?
That is very true. Um, and Janeway too. Like
Hmm.
there's so much in the podcast that I've listened to, like um, about Janeway kind of just doing her own thing. And yeah,
Yeah,
there's the Prime Directive, but I'm gonna do it this way.
like the very first thing she does. Oh, let's see here. Kirk, with him cheating, depending on your perspective, and the no-win test in the academy is pretty chaotic too.
Yes.
Yes and no. Obviously, we only really saw that happen in um, the the Kevlin timeline movies. We didn't really see that happen in the original, like the original timeline. And kind of, I get the feeling in the original timeline, like it was a challenge to him, and like in the Kelvin timelines, it's implied that he like broke the rules and didn't tell anyone, and they caught him and figured it out.
Mm.
But I get the feeling in the original series that he just like no, I'm gonna change the program. Like told everyone that's what he's going to do, did it, and they're like, you, we didn't believe you. It's like, well, I fucking told you I was gonna, didn't I? And so I get the feeling like he didn't really cheat, like the academic sense of cheating, where it's like trying to get away with something. I think in that case it was more of a I'm going to make my own rules and very explicitly make that the case,
Right.
which would have kept him from getting in trouble. I think.
Right. I think it was just like, here is a solution. Like, I don't think it was so much cheating either. It was just like, well, here's
Right.
one way out of it that you didn't think of.
Exactly. And the whole test was basically it's like we're going to like give you a scenario with no possible win scenario. He's like, I'll make a win scenario,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're like, okay, you win, you successfully pass the test. We're gonna have to change it now. Thanks. Andrew said, I know we're veering off Next Generation, but I remember there was a Q that killed himself, and he thought it was some noble thing that could be an example to other Qs preoccupied with immortality. Doesn't that seem like the sacrifice of Jesus or some shit, or am I just thinking too much into it? I don't think it was really intended to be more like a metaphor for Jesus specifically. I think it was more intended to be a commentary on purpose
Hmm.
and the right to die. So, like, self termination, which is kind of a thing in a lot of different parts of the world right now. It's like in the United States, for instance, like self termination, if you're like suffering or you have a terminal illness, is like not allowed. No, you're not allowed to do that.
Hmm.
You have to suffer through all of it. But other parts of the world say no. If you don't want to be alive anymore, if you don't want to be alive anymore, and like you've gone to people and like we've made sure that this is not a temporary thing that we can fix for you. Like if you're like depressed and we can fix the depression and then you're going to be fine. Like, okay, well, let's try that first. But you know, if you're like, you're dying from brain cancer and it's inoperable and you're going to suffer for the next 3 months, or you can just like go into this machine that'll kill you in 5 minutes and not suffer. Like, yeah, we'll let you do that. That's fine.
Hmm.
So I think that was more of what it was. And then, yeah, that's Quinn. And don't forget also that Q, like the main Q, helped him with that.
Right.
He argued against it the entire episode because it was like his job. But at the end, he's like, but I support his right to do this. It's my job to try to stop him. But once the decision's made, I'll let him, I'm going to help him make that decision. Um, Armac said, also, Kirk went on a bunch of away missions, which were technically against regulations as far as we know. So did Picard, but less so. To be fair, we don't necessarily know those were against regulations. It might be that Kirk pulling that stunt all the time is why there are regulations against doing it now.
Yeah, that's the sense I always got, that like, they didn't have those regulations quite as strict as they existed in like Next Generation.
Yeah, so yeah, that's when Starfleet's like, okay, after all of that shit, you're not allowed to send the captain on an away mission. You're definitely not allowed to send the captain and the first officer on every away mission.
Right.
Because then who the fuck's in charge? Not the two people, not the XO and the CO. That's not going to fly.
Yeah.
Alien Sock Puppy said, I've always thought of Q more like the Greek gods, meddlesome, capricious, and seeing humans as toys, answerable only to their own hierarchy.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment. And of course, we actually ran into the Greek gods in the original series, Apollo, for instance.
Oh yeah.
And there is a little bit of that to it, but I also don't see Q as a strict villain.
No.
Because he does seem to actually care about the future of humanity. He doesn't, the way that he cares isn't the human form of caring. But I like he's obviously portrays himself as someone who is trying to stop humanity and send them back to Earth, send them packing. You're not allowed to explore the galaxy anymore. But he gave them hints
Hmm.
during the Farpoint mission, and it's like, you should do this, and it's like, oh, okay, and then like figure it out, and he's like, okay, I guess you're all allowed to keep exploring the galaxy. Darn it, I guess my plan didn't work. Too bad I helped you out. So I've always thought that Q is actually not really a villain. He's definitely an anti-hero, but I think he's on the side of the Enterprise D crew. He's on the side of humanity. And I think the rest of the Q continuum is just like, these guys are a problem. We need to get rid of them. He's like, oh yeah, let me do that. I got some ideas how we can stop them. And then metals. So I think he is definitely very meddlesome. But if you were to compare him to any of the Greek gods, I think the closest would be Prometheus for giving the gift of fire to man. Um, I, but I'm pretty sure that's Prometheus. Isn't that Prometheus?
I don't know the Greek gods that well, so I
Uh,
can't say.
yeah, let me double check. Um, yeah, okay. Alex Talk Puppy says, yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay. Andrew asked, "Is Data coming back?" I saw a Frasier rerun the other day. He was on it. Made me wonder if he was in anything since. He was in the first season of Star Trek Picard, sort of,
Picard.
kind of. You'd have to watch it because, like, that sort of, kind of, I mean, it's artificial being, so consciousness transferable, etc. So I don't want to say yes, and I don't want to say no because that's a complex question. Excuse me. It kind of depends on whether or not you think consciousness can be transferred from one substrate to another, which is kind of a large part of what the sci-fi layer of the first season of Picard is about.
Hmm.
The underlying, like, that's part of the metaphor, but the actual underlying discussion is a little bit more complicated about the uh, the dangers of being frightened of new things and how that can come back to bite you in the ass, etc. So that was a lot more of the like social commentary aspect of Picard. Uh,
Right.
Welcome, MK Ultra. Glad you're
And
able to join us. Go
it
ahead.
also felt like the end of the first season of Picard was a pretty strong goodbye to Data
Yeah, it was
too.
an
So
unambiguous, like, Data is now officially not does not exist anymore. Like, that this is official. There's
I'd be surprised if he came back.
Yeah, I would be astonished, really. Like, he's I don't know, I don't want to, like, give away too much of that because while that first season's been finished for quite a while, like, I know there's people out there who haven't watched it.
It's true.
And talking about, like, DS9 and Voyager and Next Generation and Enterprise, like, yeah, it's been like 20 years. Yeah, there's no spoiler warnings for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, there are ways they could resurrect Data. I hope they don't try to,
Yeah.
because B4 obviously still exists.
Right.
Lore's components are out there floating somewhere, and there was, they could sci-fi this. They could just sci-fi, lore sci-fi things, lore sci-fi. Data's back, yay!
Yeah, they
Uh,
could do it,
yeah, and I
but
just hope they don't.
it'll be very convoluted.
Yeah. One other thing is in Star Trek Picard, Data is officially gone. But interesting enough, Star Trek Online, which is separate canon from the Star Trek shows, actually has Data resurrected as in B4's body, I believe,
Hmm.
and he's a captain in Starfleet at that point.
Yeah, I know that's been speculated for
Yeah.
possible future timelines or stories. So
Yeah, and in that sense, it would be like a different version of Data. It would be a copy of Data at a previous point rather than the copy of Data that had been through Star Trek Picard and so on. So I
right.
could definitely see them like going like, this is different than the Data that stops existing at the end of Picard. This is a different Data, but at the same time, it's like it's going to be a little confusing and kind of takes away from the importance of all of the first season Picard. And speaking of Picard and them being a little blatant in the meaning and purpose of everything in there, uh, one of my favorite things in that is at the end of everything after the transference, which I won't describe exactly what I mean by that, but anyone who's seen the show will know what I mean. Um, Picard like specifically asks Data's brother, human brother, basically like I was worried you weren't paying attention the whole time, which was kind of like just him staring at the audience and going like, "Did you understand the message?"
I
Uh,
don't remember that.
oh, you don't
Wow.
remember that? Yeah, it's
No.
right after the transference, and he's like worried about immortality.
Right.
And he goes, no, no, don't worry, no immortality. We solved that. He was like, good. I'm glad. I was worried you weren't paying attention.
Oh my gosh.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, I would also love to see a flashback showing whatever became of Juliana, like Data's mother that was turned into
Yeah.
an android. Yeah, that would be really good. And yes, Laura was very much a brat, MK Ultra.
Oh yeah. Indeed.
And yeah, Danny is the loud, obnoxious roommate. That's I don't know if that's true. I can guarantee you that Barbara is not.
Yeah, probably the quietest.
Yeah. And it depends on the day and the circumstance and what's going on as to whether or not Danny or I is the loud and obnoxious one. There's definitely times where I'm the loud and obnoxious one. Yeah, someone else is a brat, not just Lore. So, but yeah, that also reminds me like the whole Picard looking at the audience and just going like, "I hope you were paying attention." Reminds me a lot of Measure of a Man. The
Mm.
episode, if anyone in the stream is or anyone in the audience or the chat isn't aware of which episode I'm talking about, that's the one where um, someone wants to take Data apart and put them back together so they can figure out how to make more of them. And Data's like, no, I don't think you know what you're doing well enough for me to trust you to do that. I won't do that. And Starfleet is just like, well, you're property, so we're gonna make you. And then everyone is like, wait, that doesn't sound fair. He should be able to decide what he does. And then later on, like Picard is trying to figure out how to make the argument, etc. And he's talking to Guinan, and Guinan's like, there have been whole generations of disposable people that we've relied on to do the dirty work, and then like not worried about how well they're doing. And then Picard again looks at the fucking camera and goes, "We're talking about slavery."
Not obvious at all.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, that to me, that's what I love about Star Trek is like the tendency to just like we're going to like tell you what this is about, just so you can't miss it. Like it's very obvious, and anyone who like watches Star Trek and goes like, I don't think there's any politics in Star Trek. You haven't watched Star Trek. Like
Nope.
it is
Don't understand
very
that.
obvious. There is no ambiguity left.
No.
It's yeah. Let's see here. Angie said, "Was it me? But when you accidentally appeared on camera, you had colored lenses. Thought you had prescription shades or something. But the room probably just had colored lighting." No, I do. I have several pairs of glasses. If I pause this for a minute, I can go get the other pair, which are the colored ones. I say pause. I just mean I'm going to mute my mic so that putting things down doesn't make a lot of noise. Um, Barbara, do you have something to talk about for a couple moments while I go find those?
Uh, it's just put me on the spot.
Well, we'll just
I
keep going
mean,
until you think of something where you have like something to talk about for a minute.
uh, I mean,
Oh, okay.
what?
MK Ultra said they hated when the judge said Data is a toaster. Was it
Oh,
Data, or was it the judge said that, or was it? I think it was. I don't think it was Data. I think it was unfortunately Riker who was being forced to make the argument for that side. Um,
yeah, I
reckon you,
don't remember.
Andrea asked, right, you reckon you'll all be on cam one day? Um, that's like I don't have a problem being on camera. That would be up to Barbara.
Maybe someday.
Yeah,
I mean, this is the first time I've done a live stream type thing ever, so like this is all very new to me.
yeah,
Um,
it's I mean it's a little different from what many of us used to. Hold on, the camera's decided to go wonky and out of focus. Let me fix that. I don't know why it's done that. Turn off that. There we go. It's a little bit better, not perfect. There, balanced pretty well. Um, oh, that's right. If that's right, I remember that. Yeah, she would rule summarily. In other words, like if Data was just a toaster, like this would not be a difficult decision whatsoever. And if he was a human, it would not be a difficult decision whatsoever. Um, and and then basically forced Riker to do the prosecution. Is that my email or yours? That would be mine. Which means I have that open somewhere and I don't know where. So I'm just going to close everything that I don't actually need open. Oh, that's where it was. That's fine. I'll just close that. And nope, 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 nope. Yes, I want to leave site. Go away. Okay. There, we shouldn't have any more email beeps. So, but yeah, where were we?
we were talking about Measure of a Man,
Yeah.
and
And what was his name? I try to remember because he was in Star Trek Picard. The character
Maddox,
Maddox. That's right,
Bruce
Bruce Maddox.
Maddox.
I, Amco just said I was sad when Riker took Data's arm and shut him down. Yeah. Which it's really a tough position they put him in that episode, which in many ways was kind of the point. Because like the job of a prosecutor versus the job of a defender,
Defense lawyer.
defense lawyer, etc. Like, cause he was basically put in the position of having to. They did a good job, I think, of. Hold on. He knew he didn't try. She wasn't going to have it. Yeah. So he had to actually make the best effort he possibly could to make a case he didn't believe in, which is a difficult thing that people do have to do sometimes. And the reason for that is, if you're not making the best effort you can, you're not actually guaranteeing the best outcome for something that, and we kind of all require everyone to make their best effort for a lot of the systems we've developed as a society for them to work. They don't really work very well in the first place, but that's neither here nor there. But if you have defense lawyers, for instance, not really making an effort because they think their client is guilty, and so they want them to go to jail, then our entire legal system will fall apart. So we need everyone on the defense side to make a concerted, true effort to win every case. Otherwise, you have people deciding outside of the court system whether or not someone is guilty or not. And same thing happens, of course, on the prosecutorial side, where if you don't have everyone really making the true concerted effort for the correct outcome, then you have people outside of the court system making the determination of whether or not someone's actually guilty or not, which, like, that's going to be a problem because you need things to be done in a certain consistent way in order for things to be trustworthy, for people in society to trust that the right thing is going to happen. Um, and of course, we have a whole bunch of problems there in our current society in terms
Mhm.
of whether or not like things actually work out correctly. For instance, a lot of public defenders don't make a full concerted effort to properly defend everyone, which is a big issue. And that is by design. Like the people who are making the decisions that cause that to be the case are intending that to be the case because they underfund public defenders. But it's not like defined like in the Constitution that that be the case. So there's structural things going on that cause that to be the outcome, which are a huge fucking problem. Uh,
Definitely.
and of course, prosecutors are funded out the wazoo. One of the things I think that we definitely should have is a guarantee that the prosecutorial side and the defender side, like both on the public for both of them, are equally funded, so that you know that if the prosecution has so much money and time, etc., to invest on prosecuting a client, the defendant will have the same resources. It's a simple fucking solution. Andrew said they need Wesley Crusher back. I had such a crush on him when I was little, and now he's all handsome and burly in Big Bang. Uh, Big Bang, yeah, okay, and I definitely wouldn't mind seeing him in a Star Trek uniform now. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate everything they kind of did to Wesley. They they wrote him poorly. They made him brilliant, but made everyone else around him look stupid every time he was brilliant by like, and they made it so that like we could see the solution, and obviously Wesley can see the solution. Why can't everyone else see the solution? Because everyone else is incompetent, and then
Right.
Wesley looks like he's not really smart. He just looks like he's vaguely competent, and then they gave him the uh, unearned, sort of unearned attitude that he was better at things than other people were, and then it just felt weird because he felt full of himself and had felt like he had no reason to be. So I think they wrote him poorly in that respect. Uh, they also just didn't. They didn't really give the character a chance overall. Young Will Wheaton's acting was hit or miss as well. He has great moments. Also, and he was also a kid when he who phoned it in now and again. Yeah, true, Armac. There are a lot of problems with the character uh, there. Both poor writing, both younger kid acting who's not necessarily good at it yet. Um, I would like to see him have a chance to redeem himself. Aside from the one like minor cameo for 3 seconds in Insurrection, I believe.
Oh, that's right.
Which was nice to see. Like, okay, he came back. Like, he didn't just like disappear off into the ether with the Traveler forever. He still came back to see his mom. Uh, so that was nice to know, at least.
Well, and I know Will Wheaton was very unhappy on set too. Like the producers treated him poorly.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know the some of the backstory on that. Um,
not all of it. No.
yeah, there was. I was listening to a podcast interview with him, and there was one time during the filming of TNG where he wanted to branch out and audition for, I think it was maybe a movie or something, and um, I think he was up for it. Like he was definitely uh, in the running to get the role, but it was going to conflict with the filming of Next Gen, and I think it might have been. No, I don't want to put a name on who might have been responsible because I don't know if I'm right, but they essentially wrote him into Next Gen such that he couldn't go film that movie. Um, yes, Armac. I think it might have been Rick Berman. I think that's right.
Asshole
And
move in Star Trek in the 80s and 90s. It's gonna
like,
be Rick Berman.
right. So that sounds about right. But yeah, so pretty much his ability to go film this movie was completely screwed over, and he just pretty much felt like, well, if this is how they're going to treat me, like I don't want to be on the show anymore.
Yeah.
So
Oh, Andrew. We were saying that Will Wheaton got screwed over by people in charge, and the people in charge, Armac believes is Rick Berman, and I'm saying yes, it probably was Rick Berman that got Will Wheaton screwed over.
Yeah,
Don't know for sure. Allegedly.
allegedly.
That's what we need for an emote is allegedly as an emote somehow. I don't know. That's a lot of letters for an emote, but
Yeah, so Armac said that you'd be interested in hearing that backstory. The interview that he did that on was Mission Log is the name of the podcast. It's a Roddenberry Productions podcast. It's really good, but their whole TNG recap was really interesting, and they had a number of the next gen actors as guests that they did interviews with, and the Will Wheaton one was very interesting to listen to.
yeah. And I'm sure I can find a link to that. Pass it out to everyone who's curious.
Mm-hmm.
Said it was what was
It's
the
called
name?
Mission Log. Let me see if I can find which episode number it was.
22. Supplemental 22.
Yep, that sounds right.
So, yep, there's that podcast episode if y'all want to check it out, etc. So, but yeah, what else has Will Wheaton been up to lately, aside from apparently Big Bang Theory, which I have not seen?
Yeah, I haven't watched that either.
Yeah, I've seen like probably a grand total of 10 minutes of it and hated every second. Mainly
I have
because
not
they didn't have
watched
any
one
jokes.
second. Oh,
They have a laugh track, they just don't have any jokes.
jeez.
And it's all. Let me correct myself there. The only joke they have is smart people or socially incompetent laugh at them with us. Like, really? Oh, he's on the guild for a while. Okay, that was a decade ago. Okay, been doing geek and sundry stuff. Interesting. So yeah, bit outside of my wheelhouse. I don't watch a lot of TV shows and sci-fi. Um, I don't. I want to say probably half of the TV shows that I watch any like given month are just episodes of Star Trek, and then the other half is other things. So yeah, it's a little heavily unbalanced, so to speak. So, um, where were we?
Oh yeah, how did we get on Will Wheaton? I don't remember.
Let's see here. I can go back to the chat and look and figure it out. I think Andrew just mentioned needing Wesley Crusher back. Yeah,
Oh
because he
yeah,
has a
yeah.
crush on him. Which, fair. Like, okay.
I mean, he is a very handsome adult now, so I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah. Armac said if phrenology was real, I'd have a huge bulge in my forehead designated for Star Trek and anime. It would be all Star Trek for mine. I watch a little bit of anime here and there, but not really like a lot. It's more like I don't classify anime as a separate kind of media. It's just like there are shows that are classified as anime that I enjoy, but I don't mentally think of them as separate, which is I guess weird. Like I guess a lot of people like classify anime as this fundamentally separate form of media. It seems to me to be the case, but maybe I'm off base. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I've never watched any anime, so couldn't tell you.
Yeah, which is fair. I've probably watched 4 series and then it's like, yeah, cool. That was cool. I'm going to go back to watching Star Trek now. Oh, Stargate. Did you ever watch Stargate?
No,
No.
I remember seeing trailers for it or like ads for it, but
Interesting. Yeah, I've watched almost all. I'm sure I've actually watched all of SG1, and I think half of Atlantis, and like one episode of Universe. I really liked SG1. There were some issues with it, kind of fundamentally. Uh, Basically, it's because like these are military folks who are basically acting as space cops for the Earth, controlling other planets, like going into other planets, be like, "Hey, we have ideas about what you should do and how you should run your society, and we're gonna yell at you about that." It's like, yeah, that's not great. But on the other hand, like they're fighting this gigantic, overarching, evil thing that they're fighting against, so it kind of makes sense in that respect. But that's kind of like a large amount of the problem with jingoism is like creating the idea of this giant threatening other and then saying we need to fight them at at great cost, including cost to our freedom, which is um, like one of the major problems. Which, by the way, don't take that to be interpreted as being like the threat of the virus is being invented in order to like destroy our freedoms, because our freedom that is being destroyed by the presence of the virus is to like not infect other people with a deadly virus. Like that's I don't want that freedom. That's not an important freedom to infect people with a virus.
That is
Uh,
not a freedom.
yeah. Armac asked, "What are your all favorite Star Trek episodes of all time? Any series?"
Yeah, so I saw that comment and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a hard
uh,
thing to classify. Um,
yeah. I mean, I have a handful of episodes that I really enjoy,
we'll
but
do
I don't
that.
know if I could label them as favorites. But
Well,
uh,
what are those episodes?
um, well, I'll start with Voyager, just because Voyager is my series. Just in terms of sentimental and like nostalgia value, uh, it's one of my favorite series. And B'Elanna Torres is my favorite character on Voyager, so my favorite episodes from Voyager are hers. So there's Day of Honor, the one where it's the Klingon Day of Honor, so she has to like reflect on the past year of her life and whether or not she has been a honorable Klingon, and she decides that she's not. And yes, she is cool, and she is a strong female character, definitely. Um, but that's the episode where she professes her love for Tom Paris, and I was such a hardcore PT shipper back in the day. Like that was definitely one of my favorite episodes just because of that. Um, the other one that I will say is one of my favorites from Voyager is Extreme Risk, which is also a B'Elanna Torres episode, and she's going through this really bad depression after finding out that the Maquis have been slaughtered, and she's putting herself into all these high risk holodeck programs with the safeties turned off, and she's just coming out injured, and she's like healing herself, um, and going back into the holodeck with more risky programs. And that was her way of trying to deal with her depression. And I didn't like the way how they ended the episode, where they had Chakotay essentially confront her and like, oh, we'll get through this together, and then all of a sudden she's better. Like that's not how depression works. That's my only big problem with that episode. But yeah. So those, I guess, those are my two favorite Voyager episodes. Although the other day, not the other day, I think it was last week, I watched Shattered, which is the episode where Chakotay finds himself on uh, Voyager that has been shattered into different timelines, and he has to try to put all the pieces back together into the correct timeline. And he takes Janeway with him, and they they see all the different things that have happened over the years and a few timelines in the future that haven't happened. And essentially, Janeway's like, my gosh, like all this bad stuff happens. I have to, go back to, before, what's it called? Oh my God, what's it called with the Okampa?
The
The
caretaker?
caretaker,
Yeah.
caretaker, yeah, and not get Voyager stranded in a Delta Quadrant.
Yeah.
And Chakotay has to convince her to not do that. But that one's also a really good episode.
Yeah. I would say DS9 is my favorite series, um, which anyone who's listened to me talk about things at length is not going to be surprised about that. Real quick, I want to get caught up. Yeah, like Armax said, like how O'Brien's PTSD disappeared from one episode to the next.
Yep, just like that.
Yeah, the O'Brien must suffer thing that must have been going on in the writers' room, where they just had like this board. It was like ways we can torment O'Brien every episode. And it's MK Ultra pointed out the episode where Tom Paris was on Wesley Crusher's Flight Squadron,
Yep,
which is like the same exact character.
it
Like the
literally is
character
the
was the
same
same.
character. Yeah,
Why did they change the name?
it had to do with the rights with using the name. Like the person who wrote the episode,
Okay.
they would have had to get royalties for using that name.
For an entire 7 series run or season
Yeah,
run, yeah,
yeah.
that
So
yeah,
they changed the name to not give them the royalties. Just the idea, I guess.
which I guess makes sense, but that's also kind of a dick move to the person who
Yep.
created the character because the
Yep.
character is great.
Absolutely.
M. Cultra said, remind me how Hoshi was a chicken in the beginning. By the end of the series, she's a black belt. Like, I mean, to be fair, they put her through a lot of stuff, and like she made a decision, like actively at some point during Enterprise, like to become better or like stronger and to figure out how to deal with things. So at least that like tracks in terms of like character development.
Mhm.
But like one of the main problems that I think DS9 or excuse me, Next Generation had was a near lack of character development overall. DS9 had a fair amount, but Next Generation was like you could watch a series, excuse me, season 7 episode right before a season 3 episode, and you won't be able to tell which one was in what order 90% of the time because like there was no character development. Yeah, Armax said, yeah, Shankar Moore would have gotten royalties. The First Duty is actually one of your favorite episodes. Okay, yeah, fair.
It's a good
Um,
episode. Yeah.
oh, M. Crouch said, but she was always supposed to have a black belt. That's right.
Oh, was she?
Forgot that. I'll have to double check. I have to go back and watch the related episodes. Jumping back a little bit, Armac said, "In the Pale Moonlight" is excellent. Duet is good too. Yeah, "In the Pale Moonlight" is one of the absolute best episodes of Star Trek. One of the better episodes of like, just like sci-fi in general. It's just
Remind me which one that is.
Um, I
remember
bribe
liking
men
it.
to kill. I bribe men to cover the crimes of other men. It's the one where Cisco works with Garrick to kill or like to convince the Romulans to enter the war, and Garrick does it by killing the Romulan senator, like
Right.
without Cisco actually technically knowing, but
Right.
like Garrick rightly points out, like you fucking knew I was gonna do that if necessary, you idiot. Like obviously, that's why you came to me.
That's right.
Um,
Okay,
yeah.
I do remember that one now. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one's a good one.
That's extremely good. The other one that I would have to say is in my favorite is hold on, let me double check, make sure I get the episode name right. Because it's I want to say it's in the Pale Moonlight, or it's only a paper moon. That's right.
That one's a good one.
Yeah. It's only a paper moon is one of those just absolute incredible episodes that actually seriously deals with PTSD and trauma, like surprisingly accurately.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember the episode. Yeah, it's the one with Nog, and he's like living in the holodeck, right? Or
Yeah,
holosuite with Vic Fontaine.
yeah, because he
Yeah.
like lost his leg during a battle, and like it had been replaced with a biosynthetic one. So like in principle, it should be working perfectly fine. There should not be any actual problems. And then like people like a lot of doctors think it's in his head, which is like it's not in my head. I'm actually feeling this pain. It's like, yeah, you are. That doesn't mean the pain's not in your head. Like
Right.
this is a problem. Just whether or not the problem is in your head or not is not like whether or not it's really a problem. Um, and Vic Fontaine actually seriously takes him seriously, like believes him that he is suffering this pain and like works
Hmm.
with him and also like argues with his counselor and is like, no, I'm going to do what I think's best for him. Like, and the grand Star Trek tradition of the counselor on the show not being the person who's best at their job, because Troy was awful at being a counselor.
Like Guinan was a better counselor.
Guinan was a better counselor and more often the counselor.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Vic Fontaine, great Vic Fontaine episode, great Nog episode.
Yes.
Best of both, in my opinion, as well as I think Armac. I just bounced over. Yeah, Armac. Um, and I don't know if everyone noticed. There is in Star Trek Discovery in the third season. It's mentioned the USS Nog, I believe, is the name of the ship. Um, which
That
is
sounds right.
yeah, because they actually the USS Nog, NCC 325070 was a 32nd century Federation ship. Uh, but when the interesting thing about that particular ship is the class name of that ship, which is the Eisenberg class,
Oh.
actually named after the actor who portrayed Nog. So that's
Oh.
an out of universe reference, but a fantastic one. Um, okay, let's see here. Hold on. Angela one, feminist because society was matriarchal, or sexist because it was still gender essentialist. Let me make sure that we're talking about.
Oh, Angel won I think it was the first season episode of TNG.
Let me see. Some of these I don't know the names off the top of my head. You're quite right. First season, episode 14. Let's see here. I'll just read through here. Yeah, I think one of the ways to. Also, Andrew asked if Whoopi's coming back. Does it mean she's quitting that god awful chat show? No idea.
I doubt it.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I don't think her role is going to be a like. I think it's going to be like a guest star in one or two episodes, maybe three. I don't think she's going to be a primary character on Picard. I think she's just going to be recurring or supporting, like she was in Next Generation. Um, kind of like how Brent Spiner was in the first season of Picard. Like he's central to what's going on, but I don't think he was. He just wasn't in every episode or anything like that. In fact, I only think he was in 3 or 4 episodes out of 10. The Talk, I thought it was The View. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I want to say it's The View.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, Angel One. Is it sexist or is it feminist because society is matriarchal, or sexist because it was still gender essentialist? Yes. Yes. um, given the context of the time and a lot of the issues that had to do with how gender was viewed in the 80s, especially in like mid 80s, It was definitely more feminist in that respect because it was like women can be in charge of things, which is not a universally held like belief at the time. Not that it's even universally held now, but compared to what we have now, it was even less of a commonly held belief. Um, but if we look at it from today's perspective and our current understanding of society, etc., uh, then it's very kind of a little sexist because like it's gender essentialism. Um, but so you have to. I don't think you can entirely isolate a work from its cultural and temporal context, but you should at least view it with that in mind, even if it's not everything that's important. And then you also look at it from a modern day standpoint. I think that's the best way to look at it. Your thoughts?
I'm trying to remember the details of that episode. Was that the it was uh, like there was a woman who was kind of like in charge of their society, and like there was um a ship that had crashed, and like they're living there as refugees or something, and they were trying to
Uh,
get them back or
I am pretty sure you are remembering the correct episode. Yes.
okay. I just I don't remember too much about the society itself. I remember like Riker going in and trying to like seduce her to try to get her to um go along with them or
I
oh
think
yeah,
was
Riker's deep B. The Riker's deep B. I remember the um
I mean, to a degree, I think it was also like her trying to like get in his pants too, because like the whole thing was flipped on its head. So let's see here. Yeah, so like she would have been like, it's like, oh yeah, I am deciding to get into your pants. Like I'm pursuing you. That would have been the entire basic mindset, I believe. But
yeah.
it's been a long time since I've seen that particular episode. Uh, yeah, it's useful in a role reversal aspect. It's really good in terms of showing people what our society looks like from the opposite side. So a lot of men watching that episode would actually see what society, what a male-dominated society looks like to women by simply reversing things, putting them in a context that is more easily visible. Um, so in that respect, definitely feminist. So in terms of the intended subtext, highly feminist. And though if you look at the direct text itself, it's just um, sexist because like we have the you have generated the same problems that we have in our current society by just swapping the genders for everything. That we still have the
It's
problems.
right, it's still sexist.
Yeah, but the subtext, the point of the episode was to make things look or to give a view in society, mostly to men, almost entirely to men, to see what our current society looks like to everyone else. Because it's difficult for men to look at our current society and go, "Oh, I see the problem," because they only see things from their perspective. So by putting their perspective in the lower position, makes it a lot easier to see the problems that we have. So yeah, it depends on which way you're looking at it. So, um, but there's the first season of Next Generation is, as we all know, not super awesome.
Rough around the edges.
Uh, rough around the edges. That there's that, but it's also just like overall, a lot of the episodes are just like, oh, absolutely not. I was reading one thing a couple of days ago where someone was like, I got at a con and this asked everyone in the audience like, "What's the worst episode of Star Trek any series?" And I said, "Code of Honor."
Oh God.
And I said, "Describe it." Hell no.
Well, and it's funny because Code of Honor is one of those where it was more the production of it that doesn't hold up. Because one of the podcasts I listened to, I think it was Mission Log, where they were like, if you describe what happens in Code of Honor without describing what you see on the screen, it actually is a pretty decent episode.
Yeah,
But when you put in, you know, how they cast the people on there,
yeah. And the dressing.
the dressing, yeah, it just becomes really problematic.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting a bit of an echo from your side suddenly.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know if I maybe changed position.
Ah,
Or is that better?
yeah, it seems to be better. Yeah, there. Yeah, if you look at it in a couple different, like if you remove the set dressing, you remove the casting aspects of it, and like, I think you can probably still get away with like the weapons that were used in the fight, and if you take out the gender aspects of things, like the fact that Yara's, yeah, as Armax says, kidnapping Yara as a sex slave tribute as counting coup like a primitive culture. Yeah, like that. If there's that aspect that's a little insulting and mocking primitive cultures, cultures that at the time would have been like thought of as primitive, rather than like I'm not saying they are primitive, but yeah, there's a lot of issues, but they become significantly more minor once you take out the casting, and or they become more tenuous, I should say, once you take out the casting and set dressing and such. Um, so yeah, that God, it's an awful fucking episode. There's also the issues fundamentally in there of like portraying women as being able to be owned as objects, etc. Like that's another fundamental issue, but one
Mhm.
that you take that out and the episode is gone entirely. So
Or there's not much left.
yeah, like that's like the entire thing. The sexist views of the culture they're interacting with is kind of like the inherent aspect of what the episode's about. Yeah, if they had not cast that so horrifically and been maybe a little bit more careful in their casting and perhaps like used all white people and dressed them in like business suits, then I think that episode would have gotten a lot fucking better. And actually might even be considered like one of the best episodes of the first season, because it was like, yeah, look, we're pointing out the problems with modern society rather than what the god awful crap we ended up with. So, but that's my thoughts on that particular episode. Um, yeah, the basic structure of it could have been rescued, but M. Crutcher, yeah, the fight scene and the weapons they use against each other in the fight scene are definitely kind of a throwback to a mock time. And I think they even the music, like the fight music, if I remember correctly, was vaguely similar as well. It was just kind of like, is this an mock time remake? Oh God. um,
I don't remember the music in the fight scene at all,
Oh,
but
if and I could be mistaken. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I seem to remember the music in the fight scene for Code of Honor being vaguely reminiscent of the whole next gen or the original series fight music. I seem to remember it being at least reminiscent, if not just like directly lifted. Uh,
well,
I'll have to go back and skim through the episode and see if that's the case or not, because I don't recall. Oh yeah, so someone changed the name on the episode stream or the stream information. I see that. Yeah, good. Someone changed it to Total Trek Takeover. It's just good alliteration.
I like it.
Random question from Andrew. Random question: was Barbara Windsor and the Carry On movies known in the States? What now? Let me check.
Who?
Uh, you see the chat? Last message
Yeah.
from Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Carry
I think the proper answer to your question is who.
on. Yeah, I have no idea who that is or what that might be referring to.
Like I've Googled it and found some vague information on Wikipedia, and I've never heard of any of this. It's possible I just happen to have been completely isolated, and same thing for Barbara. But I am vaguely certain no, that's not a thing that anyone in the U.S. is vaguely usually aware of. It's possible that you might run into someone who does, but I don't think you'd ever run into someone who's ever seen that franchise. It looks like it's a series of 30 movies
Oh,
with the same cast. It's almost like it's halfway between a TV show and a movie franchise. That's bizarre. Okay, yeah, no, never heard of it. Sorry, yeah, that's not a thing in the United States at all. Uh, Unlike the whole Avengers TV series that both Danny and I happen to actually be aware of, despite being Americans. Like that came over at least, but Carry On, no, that did not at all.
I mean, I don't know that many movies in general, but yeah, I'm just Googling now and like these are not at all familiar.
Yeah, I would think one of us would have recognized it, but I don't think either of us recognize it. So,
Mm-mm.
and I haven't seen anything from Danny. I don't know if she's still listening or not, but if she's familiar with it, it would be interesting to know. But I would be surprised if she is. So, any other questions, episodes you want to mention, talk about, yell about?
Well, I was just thinking of any next gen episodes that I might consider favorites because we
Hmm.
haven't really touched on that. There's a handful that I really enjoy. I know Genesis, the one where they quote unquote evolve backwards, except
Yeah,
that's not how evolution works, but
yeah,
okay. Um, I remember watching that shortly after I started taking like AP biology, and like there was a whole chapter about evolution. And I remember watching this episode and being like, oh, I guess that could be possible. And like really enjoying it because of that. And then later on, as I got more into biology and I ended up being a biology major, and I watched it again, I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. But I did enjoy it for the, the makeup and the effects, which were pretty cool.
yeah. And the unfortunate thing is, like, they could have like made pretty much exactly the same episode, without changing almost anything, except for the description of what happens as de-evolution. Like,
Right,
just
right,
say that like a virus got into the computer system, downloaded the DNA for all the life forms on like Earth, and like is going out and finding similar DNA and like overwriting the people's DNA with DNA it found in the library. Good, perfect.
right,
Episode is fine. Your
right.
problem is gone.
Yeah, it's just the way that they tried to explain the de-evolving. Like
Yeah, it's
it
like
just did not work.
that's not how that works. Yeah, yeah. the main problem for anyone who isn't familiar enough with the fundamental concepts of evolution is where it breaks down. The main issue there is that they are portraying the ancestral forms for everyone as being for Barkley is probably the simplest example.
Mhm.
They have Barkley like de-evolving into a spider, which is like there is no point in our evolutionary history that humans were spider-like in any way.
Right.
We would have been vaguely fish-like at one point. So Troy, that would have made some sense, except that she's half